We're going to begin. This is the Parks and Recreation Subcommittee. We are meeting with the Board of Parks to go over the policy handbook. So if the clerk could please call the roll.
Chairman Mercier.
Here.
Council Gittier.
Here.
Council Leahy.
Councilor Late, he called me and he said that he'd be running a little bit late, but he would be here, so I'm sure that he will. He's probably still loaded with pain on him. That's okay. So I just want to say that thank you very much for all the work that you put into this. This was very interesting because there actually wasn't anything in place that was, official. This is what we're trying to do to make this official. I know that we met the last time, it was February 6th of this year, to discuss the policy handbook. And this is the second meeting. We referred it back to the Board of Parks to see if they could go over it and put something together so that we could get a better understanding on what the policy and procedure was for the Board of Parks. I think that we do have before us something relatively good that outlines different, the payment policy and fees and deadlines for payment and fees. So if there's anybody that would like to go over this, Eric, do you have anything to say, to add to this?
Sure. I want to thank the Parks Board for coming back so fast. I mean, putting this together is not an easy thing to do. Just a couple of things that going through, and these are just suggestions if the board is willing. On page 3 at the top where it says 1, start by selecting. If you could just put in between selecting, you put facilities in parks. Because when I went to use it, I was looking for the desired location, and I'm like, location, how do I get to that? I had to go to facilities first on the drawdown to get to the location. I don't know if that's something you guys have seen. It's on page 3, number 1.
Yeah, this one's
Start by selecting a desired location.
Yeah, so if it just said start by selecting facilities in parks, then a desired location.
Facilities and parks.
Yeah, that's what the drawdown piece is. I don't know if you see that, Peter. Yeah.
You see that? That'd be good. So
I don't know if that means anything to anybody, but someone computer literate like me, I go in, I'm like, okay, where's the desired location? I'm looking, oh, it's under facilities. The other thing I wanted to...
Eric, excuse me. We shut the door?
Yeah. Yeah. You can only shut one, Keith.
what is that?
I don't know. There's a dance troupe or something.
Yeah, that's better. Thank you. While he's doing that, we have Kiki Rudy from the Board of Parks. We have Thomas Conter from the Board of Parks. With us also is Peter Faticanti, Program Director and Planning of the Recreation Department. And we have someone else here, and I did not get your name. What is it? Hardy. And what is your title, darling? Oh, you're on the Board of Parks. Okay. Okay, good. Sorry, you came in as we were starting it. Thank you so much. Eric, go ahead.
Yeah, so that was one piece that I saw in there.
What was that, Eric, again? John, I'm sorry.
So page 3.
Yep, I got it.
Number 1.
Yep.
Where it says start by selecting, after selecting, put facilities in parks, then a desired location.
Okay.
You'll see it, Keith, when you go to that page. Then under the permanent fee structure, what are the locations of the practice fields? Is that like, I'm just trying to think, like, is that like?
I think that's all Crowley Stadium. That's the Machado Field and Desmond Field, correct?
Right.
Okay, thank you.
So say this again. What is it?
The practice.
Low Carly Stadium, other than the main field and the softball field. All the other fields
The
are
Tony
called
Machado
practice fields.
Practice field and the Bill Desmond practice field.
Okay.
I was thinking something like out at Manning, there was a practice field on the side or something. Okay. Thank you. I want to thank you also for adding the payment policy. I think that's the important piece to this whole structure, is that now we have a defined area where we're saying, okay, if you pay it, you pay it 2 weeks before. If you're within that 2-week period, then it has to be 48 hours before. I think that's really good. But then underneath the cancellation policy, it says issued permits are generally not refunded. I would take out generally.
Generally.
I would put issued permits are not refunded in the event of cancellation under the requester. And then you kind of spell out, there is another area for it. Payments reimbursable may be given only for excruciating circumstances. So you do spell, I would just omit the generally,
Okay.
because then it kind of opens the door, Pandora's box gets opened up, and people will start. But other than that, I think that what we went over in February is absolutely highlighted here. I thank you guys for your hard work. When you look at the policy, and we were looking at, okay, how come these payments are so late, and why aren't we gaining the interest or payments off of it, rather than have somebody hold large sums of funds and then give them to us at the end of the year? I thank you guys for the hard work you did in putting this together. Everything looks good.
Is there anything from the Board of Parks that you want to highlight or talk about, the change that you made or the fees, or are you happy with what you have before you?
I'm sorry, I just need a quick second, and then I might have something to say. And I'm sorry in advance, because I probably will have something to say. But even though the first thing is, I'm very fortunate to have the colleagues that I have. Kiki and Haley and Peter and Tom and Mr. Linehan, and obviously, and Ryan have been wonderful and helped me understand a lot more of how important the parks are. So, that said, I think that, the fee structure seems to make sense.
Fee structure seems
I-
to make sense for
Yeah.
you, yes.
But I do also, something that I'm just going to have to say, no matter what, I was just saying this, that when it comes to Lowell, it is a place where you're proud to be from here, and you know why you are.
Yes.
Right? And sometimes you have to, sometimes there might be a little bit flexibility. And so I just hope that
Yep.
as long as there's a little bit of flexibility somewhere, I think that's important, because that's why people keep coming back here, and why people who aren't even from here can come here and be like, oh, I love this place. And hey, let's be serious, it's not Boston, but people like it. And so whatever we can do to foster community, let's continue that. And that's what the Board of Parks is about. That's all.
Thank you very much for your comments, and you're absolutely right. And I like to see a handbook that has guidelines and gives information on how to request a permit, what are the fees, and we don't want to see things go up, but I understand that the last time some fees went up, which wasn't very much, during Kevin Murphy's term, and so it seems that we should take a look at it, which you did, and it's not always easy, but you did the best here. I think this is tremendous. Anything you'd like to add, Eric? Kiki?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I feel that we have done a lot of work in putting this together. We've compared it with other communities relative to Lowell size. I've looked up the Worcester policy, Cambridge policy, Springfield policy. Our rates are pretty consistent. The only thing you need to know is that a lot of these other cities and towns relative to Lowell size, they charge their youth leads. We tried not to charge our youth leads. The only thing is that what I'm hearing it to a lot of people close from around me, I'm not sure if it's doable today. When I ran the Acre Youth Organization, as everybody knows, for over 25 years, I didn't charge the kids to participate. I things have changed. Insurance rates have gone up, everything is going up, the equipment and everything. We did fundraisers for that. Now I'm being told that they're now charging children to pay $50, $60 per kid, even though the kid's only getting, in some cases, I have a granddaughter who plays minor league ball. There is no umpires or anything else. So I'm being told they charge $50 or $60 and they get a t-shirt, t-shirt and a cap, and that's, maybe an end of the year or something. But my understanding is leagues are making money today. I guess I'd have to sit down with some of these league officials and find out what exactly they're spending the money on. But maybe that's why the other cities and towns are charging their non-youth. And when you look at Worcester, they charge their youth leads. There's a rate, but they give them a 50% discount when you look at Worcester's. So they charge a youth lead. You say hypothetically, if they're charging them $1,200 for the year, they're only charging them $600 for the youth leads. If you're a non-youth lead, or if you're basically, I guess, if you just want to go out there and start your own lead, or what we call a non-compliance type of lead, where you're not following any Little League rules, or you're not following any major league, you're not affiliated with the Little League organization, or you're not affiliated with the Cal Ripken organization, then you're basically out there running your own lead. Because there's no structures and rules you have to follow by that Cal Ripkens may set up, or AAUs may set up, or Little League organization may set up. So it's different, really, when you're in different youth organizations. But that's where I know I'm one board member that doesn't want to charge youth leads. But I think it's something we might have to visit at some point.
Can I just interject right here? I just want to say one thing. And I'm going to be honest when I say it. There are a lot of children in the city of Lowell that if it wasn't for these youth leagues and coaches and people that took an interest to take their precious time, even away from their own families, to mentor these children and tell them how to compete, how to have patience, and all the things that they learn from being in a league. To me, these are the heroes in the city of Lowell. It isn't the person that ran for election and won a seat. It's the person that goes unnoticed, and every time there's a game, they come out and they mentor these children. I have the greatest respect when I go by, as I did the other day on Bridge Street, and I looked over at the park and I saw the game with a ton of cars and all the kids playing. Those are the children that are not in trouble because they're so into the sports instead of into trying to rob someone or stealing something or whatever they're trying to do.
Right.
You don't realize it. You do a tremendous job with the youth of our city, and I'm so proud of each and every one of you, and it's never said. Nobody ever says it. We might think it, but it's too bad we don't say it, but I wanted to say that because this is the way
I don't think I've ever, I don't know, maybe I'm just, when you coach or run a youth league, it's just something you fall in love with. It's not something that you're being rewarded for or anything. I mean, anytime I was not down a park, when I was down there, it just seemed like I was missing something every night. Maybe this kid that I had seen maybe come up to G-ball, get his first Little League hit. There's just something with it. There's something in you that you have to want to do it. It also puts a strain on your home life and everything else, but it's a matter of what your priorities are. But I just think, Rita, this is a work in progress. I just want to tell you, I don't think this is something that we have finalized. It's something that we didn't have. I didn't have when I became a board member, and I requested it. And in most organizations, as you know, when you become part of an organization, the first thing they hand you is the policy and procedures of that lead and what you can do and what you can't do as a board member. That wasn't given to me. And I'm not blaming anybody. What I'm trying to do is, rather than put blame, I'm trying to fix
So
something.
you're adding structure
I'm
to
fixing
rules,
something so that
sure.
the next person that comes in and follows me, they're going to have some guidelines to say
That's
what you
right.
can do, what you can't do, and here's what your charge is. I want to let fellow board members make some statements, but I just want to say, Rita, for most part, this board, I'm proud to be part of this board. We don't charge community, people that come here to try to make our community better, whether it be church services, someone giving salsa classes, someone, whatever you want to do, and you're doing in the community, you're not charging people, and you're bettering our community, we're not charging you to use the park. Unless you use services, extenuating services, meaning that we have to have an employee there to open the bathrooms or turn on the lights or do something for you after hours, after the regular work hours, then we have to charge you. We're charging the fee to pay for the employee. I don't think it's right that the city taxpayers have to pay for services that you want.
Yeah.
So that's the only time I think that we try to charge people for using our parks is when they need services beyond above what we can offer, what the city offers. So other than that, the fee structures you're seeing is just a guide that we're working with. Like you said, some of these fees haven't been adjusted for, I would say, Peter's been here long and I, but on the board, probably 10 years.
You charge fees for custodial services for lighting at all? Lighting? No,
I think
lighting?
there's a fee in here for lightings. Like if you're using, for instance, there's only one park that comes up in my mind, I'm sure the other board members, is College Stadium. When you're using that after hours and you need the lights and stuff, I believe we charge you for the lights, for the custodian, and we charge you for the services that you are utilizing.
So if the park has lights on based on the city ordinance that calls for certain parks to have lights on at certain hours, then the user doesn't get charged for those fees. The only time they're charged is College Stadium because the lights are turned on and off if the lights are being used past dark. But if the city ordinance covers the lights to be on at, let's say, the tennis courts at Shed Park, and someone gets a permit for that, they don't charge a light fee because the lights would already be on for that anyway. So the only time there's a cost is when it's an additional service that's being provided.
Right, okay. Tom?
Yeah, I get back to what Keith said about the fees for the leagues and everything. Some of us are for it and some are against it. I'm for it, because I'm around a lot. I'm an umpire myself, and I do a lot of games. I work the whole Merrimack Valley. I see what's going on. I talk to different people when I'm out there, and I keep hearing the famous quote since I've been on this board: the inner city kids can't afford to play today. And they get charged, Keith said, it's $50, $60. It's more than that. It's $100 a kid to play baseball, minor league baseball. I have a grandson that plays. My daughter's single, 2 kids. She has to pay $100 for him to play, and he only gets a T-shirt and a hat. And I just think that's outrageous. And I wish Ryan was here so he could speak up for himself. And I was talking to Keith earlier, and the surrounding towns, they charge a small fee of $10 per kid to play. That's not a lot of money. When these kids are paying $100 to $125, and some of them are paying as much as $150 to play, for what? That's what I don't understand. Why do they have to charge so much?
Yeah.
I understand they use umpires, but they don't use umpires on every level. I can see them charging $125 for the 12s and older kids. But for these T-ball and minor league, charging the money they're charging is outrageous in the city.
Eric?
So Tom, before I would be willing to even suggest to take money away from a family in any way, I would like to see what grants the city gets for open space maintenance long before that. Because if they're getting grants to take care of all this space, there's really no need to back charge on that end.
Right.
But to hold the leagues accountable, as you're saying, is not the city's side's position to try to take money from someone just because we can. But I don't disagree with you, and the point is that the idea of youth sports is you're taking on the responsibility of someone else's child's development, and you're trying to make it so that everybody understands that we're here for you. I did it like you guys did for 12 years, and someone once asked me, they said, "Oh, you put a lot of time into being a city councilor," and I said, "You've never been a coach." It's twice as much time to be a coach than it is
Right.
to be a city
I coach
councilor.
myself.
$100, I know where some places are, their fees. Have you seen the shirts that these kids are wearing today? I mean, they're all, pressed up and expensive. It's not the leagues that we grew up in where you had the netted hats on and we were just trying to run around. Umpires are expensive. You can't even get them anymore. And if you do, you're getting a kid for $35 or something a game, or $30. But I do see the challenge what you're saying and how single families. Dan Capone used to always say that we charge certain people. We didn't charge all the people. And he had a way of saying if someone came up and they had more than a certain amount of children and they had a hardship, he would always say you got a scholarship, so come on and play. He never turned a kid away. But I do see what you're saying, and there should be money in those accounts for kids who can't afford, and there should be ways of doing that, but then we're impeding on the organization structure. And that's where the hard part comes on my end, but I do agree with you that no kid should be turned away from a baseball field or a football field or soccer or field hockey or anything because of a monetary value. Somebody should step up and being in the political side, we can go out and raise $5,000-6,000 at one campaign party, but we can't put kids on, athletics. That tells you how the world is reversed because of we're trying to mold the future and the way that, you guys do, and I think it's admirable. And I agree with you. I agree 100% that the money that it's a money grab, and some places
Big
are.
money grabbing thing out there, all the organizations.
Yeah, baseballs are out of control.
They made a lot of money on that.
NCAA foul ball, they're running after the baseballs now. Before it was, you got it, see you later. Now they're out trying to get baseballs because they're $8 a piece. It's a different world, and I don't know how we cure it, but maybe the city has to step in and say, okay, we have a fund somewhere like the Career Center or somewhere like that has a fund set aside that we can say, okay, we can look at the organization's structure and where they're spending their money, and then if they're spending it appropriately, we can donate money in to offset baseballs and stuff and league fees, and it's a tough decision.
Today, the youth organizations, all of them, softball, baseball, lacrosse, it's all a money-making deal today.
It's money.
all about money. It's not about the kids today. I hate to say that, but that's the way it is. I've been around as an umpire for 53 years, and I do tons of games, and I work a lot of games around here in the Merrimack Valley. From here, I go as far as Boston and everything for high school games, and I talk to different people who run different organizations in these towns, and I just get an idea what they charge, and a little fee is not going to hurt them, believe me.
We should keep this conversation going because I think in the end there can be a solution for a lot of kids in the city, and they don't have to play at certain parks. I thought that was the premise of putting all the parks together, was we're not going to segregate anymore. We're going to put everybody together so that we're all one and we're all going to cross it and try to make it work. And I think that this conversation needs to go a lot deeper.
I think
to
it's
help
working.
kids.
I think it's working really good. And it's, because you get friends from live in Pawtuckaville, that got friends over in Belvedere. Now they're playing on the same team and everything, which is great. I think that's working, but I'm just for collecting a fee.
That's why I told you, Madam Chairman, that when I started off, that this is a work in progress. This is something, a guide that we can work from going forward. But I think we have a lot of work to do. In my opinion, I think the biggest complaint the help we need, the Board of Parks, from the city councilors, that I'm hearing from just about everybody who runs a youth league in the city, who I talk with and I run into, is maybe a little more police enforcement in the parks during the game. You got a lot of these scooters and stuff running around the parks. I know when I'm around the North Common, I'm seeing that a lot. I go down to North Common sometimes to watch the games or just talk to the kids, check the facilities out down there. But it's maybe we can ask the chief, when some of these, when they have time, if they're in their patrols, if they can just go through the parks and just show a little bit more that they could, that would help out. I think this is what I'm hearing from the lead. Now, this is not Keith Woody filing a complaint. I'm telling you what I'm hearing from people who use the parks, is that whether it's dogs using the ball fields, a gated ball field, letting the dogs out, taking the chain off the dog, and letting the dogs run through the park and do whatever they're doing their duties, and now some young kid's not going to go and play in that field. So just a little bit more enforcement. I mean, what can we do? What can the police do? I don't know. I mean, it's people golfing, using the fields for golfing, public fields. So there's a lot of stuff being forced, being done, and the rules are here. If we need to get a copy to the Lowell Police Department of the rules and regulations of Board of Parks.
We do have some parks that people are sleeping in, and they're using it for.
Can I tell you,
other
when I make a call, they're right there.
Yeah.
I've had it a couple of times because I live right across the street from Father McGuire's. I walk in the morning, and I know when the kids are coming out of school from the Avenue, they use that park, and if I see someone sleeping there, and they normally sleeping right in the playground area, not in the ball field or something, they're sleeping at a playground area where the kids use. And when I normally call
And
the
there's
police,
needles and a lot of needles in parks. We know that too. We have a gentleman that goes around and
Yeah.
that's his job to.
but I
pick
want to
up
tell you,
the
when I call
needles.
the police, Rita, they're reactive, they're right there. This guy was removed before the kids even got out at 9 o'clock in the morning. So when I'm walking at 7:30 in the morning, guys sleeping in the park, in the playground area at Father McGuire's. This guy, by the time I come back my walk, he was removed, and the kids were just coming out at 9 o'clock. So it's just a little bit, Rita, if we can, I don't know. I mean, most of your rules, the Board of Parks rules, are on a sign attached to the parks. So you know when you're going to Father McGuire's, you have to open a gate. You have to open a gate to put your dogs out there and just letting them run around. Listen, I'm all for more dog parks, but don't be using a ball field, because you know what? When that ball goes in the outfield and it gets in the poop, the kid's not picking that ball up. Just, you know.
Jeez, yeah.
But I'm just saying, we got to have a little more attention given to the,
Just for a point, over the last month, we've made motions to have the parks monitored more about the motorbikes riding around them and stuff like that. So the police have responded recently, but if anybody out there sees this, please contact the Lowell Police right away, and they'll definitely get over there. Shed Park, it's happened. It happened down at the North Common just recently, and they sent over the police and pushed them away.
not just scooters. There are cars on vehicles. I'm seeing vehicles in the parks.
Yeah, and I think people need to make those calls, the residents, and because you and I can't be at every one, and then we get the call the next morning, and I'm like, I can't do anything the next
Right.
morning. But we are putting in those motions, and we're trying to do the same thing. So I think, one of the interesting things that we talk about is in the past is we had leagues taking care of parks also, and maybe we have to get back into that to save funding and try to get them back to where they need to be.
Just like the schools should be a safe haven for kids, so should the public park. A kid should be able to feel free to go in the park without having to fear whatever, nightmares are out there. And there are
It
a
was
lot
the
of nightmares
first
out
time
there.
I've ever seen a park gate locked. It was a Calorie Park. They had a lock on the gate, and I didn't understand why there would be a lock on the gate keeping the residents out of the park. I've never seen that before, Calorie, but there's a lock on the gate, and I don't understand that piece, but I think Council Robinson.
May I just say, I will mention MIAA at Colley Memorial Stadium Complex. They have sports events, supposed to be $1 per ticket, and they never pay. I think when it comes to them asking us for our payment, they certainly don't hesitate to ask and get it. I think I'm a little set back by the fact that they don't even pay $1. I mean, I'm going to mention it. Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. I believe you kind of touched on something that I've been very curious about. What are we going to do? I think stepped up enforcement is going to be a huge component with all this. I mean, if you look at, we're in pretty much June now. South Common swimming pool will be open. And to be shuttling potentially 100+ kids in there for swim lessons and everything else that goes on and open to the public at noontime. I mean, last time I was down in that area, that's really no environment for children and families to enjoy for the most part. I mean, over this past weekend, we had a lot of tents and everything on the side of the hill and just the activity that goes on in that area. I think that's something we're going to have to really roll up our sleeves and address coming up before the pools open for the season, again, in the parks, because we're trying to encourage, we have the Pirates doing different training camps down there with kids and all that, and I think that's something where we're going to have to request some more stepped up enforcement. in my opinion.
And I feel exactly what you're saying, because word spreads very quickly, and I know for a fact that there's a big fence around the swimming pool, and yet it doesn't stop some people from climbing over and taking their nightly bath in the pool. I know that's happening.
Yep.
I know it did.
And then when the bathrooms and restrooms open up there, we can expect our high school-aged and some college-aged lifeguards to act as police as well, because those bathrooms are going to be the Wild West for anyone in the area that who knows what. So I think that's something we need to address. I'd also like to bring up, I'd like to see the Board of Parks and my colleagues' thoughts on, this was presented to me by a member of the public. What's your thoughts on working out something, maybe on the website or whatever it may be, where someone does go through the process, pull a permit, holds an event at a park, and then we have some kind of satisfaction survey or comments available, so then they can report back as to what they found, the conditions of the park, or any improvements during that period that they paid to rent. I think that feedback could be important for everybody, and when we start looking at where do we need to improve. Third, custodial fees. I think with some of these big projects in the pipeline, we potentially could have some more bathrooms at different park facilities. I know you guys have been doing a tremendous job, and I think we need to continue to work at kind of like a standard offering. If you want to rent a park or a facilities location that has a bathroom, this is the price with the custodial fee included. If you don't want access to the bathroom, well then this is the price or the fee that's going to be for the usage of the space that you're renting. Because I don't think we limit it to just one. I mean, if you look at recently, they just installed one over at North Common Park. So now if someone wants to rent something over there, it's kind of tricky. So I think that's something we need to figure out, the best practice and what the Board of Parks would feel comfortable doing in that instance. Because again, now you're talking allowing the public to have access to public facilities with fee waivers and all that, and insurance. I'm not sure how that all works, but I think we could be potentially adding quite a few more bathrooms over the next 2 years, I'd say, through ARPA at a couple facilities.
Kiki?
Thank you, Councilor Robinson. We have discussed that, and we are currently discussing that. Bathrooms at parks, I have a problem with it myself. When we're giving someone a permit, my granddaughter plays softball over McPherson's, and luckily Gil Vision's there to open the bathrooms. Otherwise, the bathrooms wouldn't be open. It's not just at Centerville. It's Highlands. It's Calgary. I'm not sure we have keys to all these bathrooms. And here's the problem. If we get keys, does that mean the city now takes the responsibilities of fixing these? So what we've done as a Board of Parks, Councilor Robinson, is we've requested a meeting in the future with all the Board of Directors or people representing these parks to come and give us their feedback. We want to hear from them prior to making any rules and regulations. I want to hear what they have to say. A lot of these people took their money, their time, and effort into help building these bathhouses and whatever you want to call them, concession stands. And I know a lot of work has been done by the vocational school. So before we start regulating and putting rules about, you got to do this, you got to do that, we're going to charge. We'd like to hear feedback from the neighborhood communities, Rita, who are overseeing these parks. We'd like to get their feedback before we may start making rules and regulations concerning the bathrooms. That's where we are with that. We have discussed it. I did make a motion at the last meeting. We're in the process now of notifying some of these parks personnel to come to a meeting with us and discuss what their concerns are about going forward about opening the bathrooms. So that is being addressed as we speak tonight.
One thing we might want to look to the city solicitor for is that anytime anybody builds a permanent structure on public property, it's the public's property. So it automatically gets donated over. Whether the paperwork is there or not, it's public property at that point. One thing to really look at is if somebody rents over a certain amount of time, the bathroom should automatically have to be opened by a custodian. So say you go there and you rent for over a 4-hour block, or to the 4-hour block, you should have to have a custodian, and the custodian should have to maintain those bathrooms, because it doesn't make sense. It should be a health code at that point where, okay, we got people in this park and there's a bathroom here and you're going to be here for a certain period of time, that these bathrooms should be mandatorily made to be open and the charge should be there. So I think those are things we have to look at and we should look at. But I agree with Keith, is it's a much deeper discussion than we're going to have time for tonight.
Right.
But I think the city solicitor needs to come into this and say, okay, look, you know what? Everything that was built on city property, whether the intent was that somebody thinks they own it, well, they don't own it. The city has to have the keys, and they're supposed to be all turned over to the city of Lowell once it's constructed and done, because it is a piece of public property at that point.
I'm going to give you an example of what we're all talking about here. I'm not an authority, but I've lived this, and I know that this is the truth. We all are under the belief that we own the sidewalk in front of our house. We're supposed to shovel it, we're supposed to maintain it, that we think that it's ours. So 3 of our neighbors on Royal Street many years ago wanted to take, the sidewalks were a mess. We wanted to put concrete cement sidewalks. We were paying all of this ourselves. The procedure was we petitioned the city to let us have their sidewalk. They gave us permission to use their sidewalk, to rip it all off, hire a company, McClellan, I believe it was, and they poured the cement. Once it was done and in beautiful condition, we petitioned the city again to take it back. So we never owned that sidewalk, but they did give us permission to make it better, which we did. So I think that even though sometimes we feel like we built this on a city piece of property, we ask permission, can we build it, can we pay for it? But ultimately, they own it. That's my opinion. I'm not a lawyer, but that's the way
I think I asked that question. I think the superintendent of parks and, the recreation and I have had some conversations about that, and I asked that we make that question, we bear that. But in all due respect, I think to the people who run the league, we at least owe them a conversation. So
Sure,
I think prior to
sure.
us
I'm not
doing
saying
anything
not
and
to.
reacting to something, I think we owe these people
Sure.
the courtesy of a conversation. So I think that's where, I know I am as a board member right now, waiting for that meeting so I can discuss what some of their concerns.
Sure.
But us, when I say us, the citywide leads and the people who we give a permit to use that park, if there's a bathroom, if they have a problem with them. Now, if a fee may be attached, whatever it may be, let's come down, let's have a conversation, and let's come up with an idea that both sides can sort of be reasonable with, Rita. I'm sorry, Madam Chairman.
Would you like to comment, Hadi?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. All right. So, I mean, I'm going to try to go with long story short, even though that's not my milieu. But anyways, when it comes to feedback of the people, I know if we're going to ask for feedback, there's a lot of people that also don't necessarily speak English, and we'd have to make sure that we accommodate for that. If people are going to do something, then, you're asking them, you want to use the space, blah, 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 then that's fine. But when you're asking for the feedback, to make sure that you actually hear what they're saying. Now, then the other thing is, the custodians should be duly compensated. And so obviously, dude, who's trying to wake up at midnight to go open up or lock a bathroom? You know what I mean? And so basically we have to factor in all those things. And so to what Kiki said, it's a greater conversation, and it speaks to if we're trying to be a community, we need to act as a community as well, and we need to think about these other things, because there are things that people undergo that we don't even realize. And so there's that. And then the other thing, maybe that was the greater part of it, but there's probably more later. But at least I just wanted to at least say that, because growing up here, I've seen both sides of it, and it is one of those things where I'm fortunate enough where I'm like, listen to me. You know what I mean? It's okay, I can speak and I can understand, but I know many people that I care about that they're not necessarily in that place, and they also might not have those resources. And as many resources as we're giving them, especially the parks, then it's like we actually have to expand our minds and just try to make sure that everyone is taken care of. Because as you said, Madam Councilwoman, that this is a place where people can do what they want to do. Like, you use the parks and you get to enjoy yourself and, and so, I don't know. I know it's idealistic, but that's just where I'm sitting from. That's all.
Councilor Robinson?
Thank you. I agree with Kiki as far as out of respect, it's only right. Pull in the groups, have the conversation, and try to find the middle ground. I would like in the concession stands in the bathrooms, similar to dugouts. Each park's different. I know Lands and Buildings have constructed some. I know the vocational school has helped us out and constructed some. I know leagues have pulled together and constructed some. I think you hit it right on the head. At the end of the day, we're talking about public space. We're talking about public parks. We're talking about public permitting systems where people can throw a public birthday party if they want to. And if they have to use the bathroom, that's a public bathroom. And then if people want to dig in and try to claim ownership, I'm pretty sure that it's impossible. You cannot just declare that this is yours because you decided to build something. Dugouts. For the most part, the leagues use the dugouts. Repairs, sometimes the leagues do them, sometimes the vocational school does them. We had Youth Build do a bunch of them. I mean, it's a collaborative effort in maintaining our green space. Yes, the leagues bring a great value to the city. Organized sports, draws, bringing out-of-town teams. We have it every weekend over at McPherson Park with Gil Vigit. He runs phenomenal tournaments and has been for quite some time now. I also want to touch on that, though, because are we offering a menu when people are booking our fields to and factor in a true price for people to chalk fields and games in between with city employees? Because Gil Vigit runs tournaments all summer long, every weekend pretty much, probably for 4 or 5 months out of the year. He has his own crew that handles all that work. I mean, I think that's something that might have to be expanded if we're going to start looking to utilize employees of the city into that.
May I ask a question? Because I don't know if I saw it in here. But it reminded me. Is there anything in this, I don't know if I saw it, in this policy handbook that says once you take a permit out for a field, you cannot in turn release it to somebody else? Sublease it? Is that in here that you can't do that?
Yes.
Because that isn't proper.
We've addressed that.
It isn't proper. That's in here, right?
I think Councilor Getcher brought that out, I think at our first meeting we had in March of '23, I believe it was. I had that in my notes that, yes, in March of '23, that Getcher.
But it's in here.
Getcher brought that out, so we did address that.
Okay, you
That
did.
you will lose your permit. You
Yeah.
will lose your permit. You'll be, if we find out
Right.
you're sublifting. So we have addressed that.
'Cause-
We've also addressed, Councilor Robinson, about trying to put a tournament fee. If someone's deriving income by using our fields, by making a fee, we're looking into putting additional fees onto that person for using the fees and raising costs. So we are addressing these. Like I said, I think what we try to do, Madam Chairman, is try to get the breadth of the,
Yes.
so when people are renting, they know what the rules and procedures, policy
Sure.
procedures are, what are the rates.
Right.
We want to make sure we're trying to be fair to everybody on trying to use the fields.
Would you think it was proper for me to make a motion to take this Board of Parks policy handbook and give it to the law department to put it into basic form so that it meets all the requirements to make it a working document? Do you think that would, or is it too soon to do that?
I would say it's something, that, my opinion, and all the board members, I think it's something that we're hoping for, that we can get some advice going forward. So yes, it's something that, a document that we'd like to have the legal department look at. And I just want to say, if I, Madam.
So can I make that in the form of a motion?
Madam Chair, I was just going to suggest, it seems like there's a couple questions that have to go before legal anyways.
Okay.
That were raised earlier. So if we're going to send a motion to have them review this,
Yeah.
I think it's only fair that we ask the Board of Parks to pretty much compile a list of legal opinions, like as far as responsibilities or ownership of the concession stands and the bathrooms. And let's get all those legal opinions back as one, and then they can meet again and work with everything that they kind of need to solidify a final document.
I think that makes sense.
So I think what's happened is we're trying to cross over two totally different things. This handbook wouldn't have anything to do with concession stand ownership. So I think that we should push this handbook through as a working document for the parks, and then make another motion to go on the concession stand and stuff, as Council Robinson said, because this is totally different. This would have nothing to do with the concession stands unless we're looking to rent them.
No, it kind of would, because if in here is mentioning about usage of bathrooms and all those other things, some of the leagues are pretty much saying the bathrooms are ours.
But the bathrooms that we can lease right now and rent right now, we still can under this piece. And if anything in addition comes on, this policy still would guide those bathrooms. So basically, right now, if we hold this up, we're holding up the rental of Cawley for bathrooms and stuff like that. So let's get this through, and any additional bathrooms
Exactly.
that come on will fall
I
under
agree
the
with that,
guidance.
because we need to, some
What
of the
you're
language.
saying is important, but it's not conducive to, it's going to hold us back right now, but then we will address what you're saying.
The rest of the board members can speak, but I think what we're looking for is, we put a lot of hours in this, as you know,
Yeah.
Madam Chairman, and we'd like to have some of these rules, and even the new rates take effect as a certain point. Let's just
All
go
right.
forward, then we can
So
work on
let's
them.
I make this motion. Do I get a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call.
Chairman Mercia.
Yes.
Counsel Getchia.
Yes.
Counsel Lee, 2 yeas.
Chairman, can I just?
Sure.
answer
We
Councilor Robinson?
have 5
Quick.
minutes.
About hiring city employees to chalk and do the lines. It's not feasible for anybody to run a tournament and hire city employees and paying them $35 an hour. You would need a couple guys, so that's $70 an hour for 12 hours a day. It's not feasible for anybody to run a tournament in the city.
Thank you, and that's my train of thought, but
Believe me, they thought about it, but it's
Something-
not feasible. They would have to charge these teams come in and another $150 to $200 more. And with the cost of everything going up, and the prices are high now to get into these tournaments.
I think in the discussion is that we should look to those people who built these concession stands, and maybe they'll get a volunteer to do both, because normally if they sell the food, they'll actually do the bathrooms at the same time during those events. So I think, like, if you look behind the Dealey School, that one, normally they have volunteers who come down, do that, and do the other. So it would be a discussion that would go across from each individual piece of property and who actually is the governance over it by park. I think that's what we probably should lead into after this. But right now, I think that the best thing to do is just try to follow the pattern that we have. Go back to you guys come back with what's best, and then bring it to us, because you guys know all of those individuals much better than all of us.
Yes. Motion to adjourn. We will have more
Second.
meetings. We will have
Second.
more meetings. Thank you so much. I'm only doing this because we have a city council. Thank you so much.
Hey, Peter. Yeah. You got an extra one?
Hiring city. Long time no see. Long time.